YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this. We've got the RV-7, the Vans RV-7. This thing is beautiful. We have flown it a number of times. It is really well done. Super sturdy flaps, LEDs, and bright LEDs. Strong tail wheel, tail dragger configuration, beautiful pilot, beautiful canopy, strong canopy, instrument clusters. This thing has everything that I want in a scale general aviation plane and more. You'll see what more is in about 10 seconds here. So 3S or 4S compatible, 2200 is what we're gonna be flying it on today. Let's show you some taxiing. Amazing ground handling, very solid. Obviously, because of the Avian ESC, you can do this fun thing. And yes, it does taxi. That's great. That's a very low taxi rate. Look at this. I'm at 12% right there, and it goes backward. So this thing produces thrust very efficiently backward, which is good for crazy things in the air. Of course, I'm not probably skilled enough to do much of that. Okay, so we're gonna get into position and take off. Here we go. Get that tail wheel off, and look how easy that is. I mean, I barely even gave it throttle. Okay, that's 50%, 100%. Look at this. Not what you're expecting from a general aviation, right? Look at this. That's 100% throttle. And then we'll slow it down. We're gonna go up and over that tree line and then back down. Going with the wind, so forgive the speed. Look at that beautiful thing. And it is not calm right now, guys. It's about 30% throttle there. Beautiful upside down performance. We'll go straight into a cornhole there. And then safe. Very cool. Guys, we've got limited bank angle right, left, up, and down. Safe works really nice on this plane. I'll fly a circuit with safe here. Have to kind of put a little bit more pressure to coordinate your turns on the rudder. If you're into coordinating your turns, of course. But look at that. You can really make it look nice, even with safe on, which is super cool. Especially for those of you that are new flying, and yet you do end up with a programmable transmitter. This thing is awesome. Now, the reason I say if you end up with a programmable or like a computerized transmitter like the NX8 or the NX6 or the DX6 or the DX6C or the DX8 or the DX80, there's a bunch of them, guys. You can definitely make this a first plane if you decided to, but I would not fly it on 4S. And we'll show you how powerful this thing is. Okay, out of safe now, finally. We'll show you just how powerful and insane this thing can be even on 3S. Look at this. That's why you don't fly it on 4S if you're a beginner pilot, because you can do stuff that's just crazy. That was full throttle for like 40 seconds straight, and that's really tough on your pack. So these smart packs have been just phenomenal. Gen 2, by the way, I don't think I mentioned that. It's a Gen 2 4S 30C, not even a 50C. Very good roll rate. Okay, we're gonna jump up over here. Sorry, it's gonna go out of frame for just a second, folks. You ready? Mm-hmm. That's at idle. Let's go to the bull. You wanna walk over and stay in the shade there? Even now, you can see the LEDs, and it is bright out. By the corner of the house, please. Thanks. Take off flaps here. We'll show you the bull gets very turbulent if we have wind. Let's just show you this. Right down there in the bull. This thing just does it all, folks. Okay, landing flaps now. See how it slows down in the bull, in the turbulence. Man, that thing looks so good up against the trees, doesn't it? A little bit of throttle in the turn so we don't lose her. Pointing the nose down. I ride that rudder stick a lot in those sharp turns, folks. If you're not doing that, that might be why you're crashing. Because if you can keep that nose pointed down, your plane is in less of a tendency to stall. But with this much power, you can kind of get away with anything, you know? It just does it. Oh, looks like we had somebody delivering. So cool. Cornhole. Safe. Out of throttle. About 15% throttle there. Man, they must have sprayed something. You smell that? Somebody sprayed something. So guys, if you're thinking about this plane, I want to just remind you, it is fast, it is agile. We got our timer going. Looks like we are currently, I'm gonna just clear it. That's 5 minutes right now, so just reset. You could definitely get more than 5 minutes, but let's just go ahead and land and we'll look at the radio system. This does have smart technology. Okay, full landing flaps coming in. Let's see if we can stick this one. Nah, I'm gonna do a go around. You can do a really tight go arounds here on this plane. It just does well. Hey. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna go grab it. I'm on the edge. Okay, so I was just on the edge there and I didn't wanna catch the edge and tip the prop over. One concern on this plane is prop clearance, because it is not very much prop clearance. You probably only got like 2 to 3 inches of prop clearance. And as you can see, we're gonna try to bring it in the shade so that we don't overexpose the camera here. The prop clearance is gonna be the only issue that most of you guys are gonna deal with. If you have a well-manicured grass, this thing it's gonna make its own path, okay? You're gonna be fine, it will fly, and you can launch it off the grass. In fact, let's show them right here. If you are on 4S, let's check our voltages first. So we have about 33% left. Pretty close. So we'll do one takeoff and landing sorties here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna taxi out onto the sod area of our yard because it's a lot smoother. And we will put the takeoff flaps and then just take off next to that bug zapper. We'll just carry a little speed. As you can see, it gets off the ground just fine, but it's just the transition from a hard surface to a not hard surface like grass. It might tip the thing over. How about that for a landing approach? Let's see if we can stick it. Oh, that's so cool. Reverse thrust there. That was cool. Guys, this thing is super fun. It's actually quite easy to control with thrust reverse too. We just did the 150T, the Carbon Z Cessna 150T, and reversing that thing was challenging because the tail wheel would spin. So this thing has performed super excellently in that regard. And it also turns pretty sharp. So if you're into trying to taxi it out there and all that good stuff, that's super fun. But I mean, the thing just looks absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. Let's do some sunny passes here. Look at that thing. Full landing flaps deployed there. Now you can actually get a little teeny bit more flap action if you want, but you certainly don't have to. This plane easily hand launches on 4S. On 3S, it'll also hand launch, but just keep in mind, it's a little bit less power, but it's still amply power. You see that little step behind the flap? That's an option. You can put a plug in there instead. You do need to glue that in. It's not just a pressure or a snap fit or a screw. So we use China glue. They recommended using some CA. but we just went with the China glue. It worked out perfect. All right, guys, into the shade so you can see the lights a little bit better even still. Look how stinking gorgeous that is, guys. All right, so throttle cuts on. Our voltage is still 3.77 volts, and that's balanced out perfectly on the smart pack here, and that's after all that taxing. 3.76 just dropped down. So very, very happy with these smart packs, especially the Gen 2 packs have been doing really well. I was very nervous about not having a balance lead. And I heard from our contact at Horizon, he suggested that he had stopped using the balance charging feature on the smart chargers a long time ago. And I'm like, dude, you're crazy. No, he wasn't, because he's right. It's been really nice. There was only one time where we run into problems on that, and that is when we're using an afterburner. And they are working on an adapter so that we can steal the voltages that we need for those things. Also on those afterburners, you can throw a second battery in, or the Night Radiant, for instance. It takes a 3S 2200, and if I use a Gen 2 pack, I'll just throw a second battery in there. It's super easy. Or I'll just use a Gen 1 pack because I got them sitting there. But if you ordered it and you got a Gen 2 pack, then you can just throw a second little battery in there if you have one. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this for a minute. Obviously, the size is great. This is a 1.1 meter, which is a really good size class. I love that you can stick this in the car easily. You can get that in, you can hold it, you can control it. It's not flimsy. These are all things that we've run into on other models that are in certain size classes. This thing is sturdy. The landing gear is sturdy. Everything about this plane I'm very happy with. The only thing I don't like about this plane is the fact that it's not a Carbon Z yet. And when it is a Carbon Z, it's going to be glorious because this thing is sweet. It flies so good. It's very high performance. The Avian ESC does a great job. It will kind of get a little bit dirty when you go through the grass, so just be aware of that. That's always a bummer, but it's kind of the nature of the beast. The foam is super, super, super detailed. Look at all those. They put the rivets all over this plane. It is so cool. Even the rivets around here. So just absolutely gorgeous. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause. We'll plop out the 4S and put in a 3S and show you a second flight. And then obviously you guys can stick around for the build, the Unbox build and radio setup, and we'll show you all of our expo rates and all that good jazz and see if you can use that to help you get in the air. All right, guys, so real quick, I didn't even show you, they have this nice spring latch here, and then I'm riding my battery all the way forward. I had marked my CG mark here, but I just feel like it did okay with it forward, so I'm just gonna stick it all the way forward. There is a bit of a pocket where you can go up inside there. See that? Just be careful you don't get it up against the motor itself, okay? I don't think you can, but you wouldn't want to have that shaft, the motor shaft, spinning and hit the battery, because that would be potentially bad. All right, so everything's ready to go. This is 3S on a 5-minute flight. We had 30% power left on that 4S before we put it out to cool. And this one is obviously fully charged. It's a 4.2, 4.21 on each cell. And we're gonna just show you how nice this thing handles on 3S. I feel like this is a 3S bird, if you ask me, which is crazy. I know most people are like, oh, can you fly it on 5S? No, don't. It's like insane on 3S as it is. So I just think it's gonna look better and fly better on 3S. Here we go. That's 50% throttle. Okay, check this out. Look at this. That's on 3S, guys. Near unlimited vertical. Okay, here we go. High speed pass. Still extremely fast. Keep in mind, we do have some wind today. So it's not like it's dead calm or anything. So I did notice that on 3S, the plane does, in my experience, I've had to really ride it to do the insane things like what I was just doing there, the figure eights at low altitude. But if you're gonna do like scale flying and the performance that I expected this on 4S, guys. This is good performance, extremely good on 3S. Now, get out of jail free cards are gonna be harder to cash in on 3S because I'm at 45 to 50% throttle here in the turn, still 50% throttle. Use the rudder to keep the nose pointed the direction you want, which is down, okay? So really riding those sticks opposite direction of one another. And that keeps that thing from falling out of the sky on me. Now, if you get a big gust of wind, that 4S could be your salvation. Out of the flaps now, that was takeoff flaps in case you guys weren't paying attention. A little bit of rudder and aileron there. And here we go. Out of the throttle, 10% throttle just to slow it down some with the tractoring prop. Also, with the thrust reverse, the motor will make an interesting and somewhat scary sound when it goes from moving under power to braking. Let's go out to the tip of this shadow here. Right here, perfect. Okay, so listen, I'm gonna try to demonstrate. It's a little bit easier to demonstrate on 4S and not sure how the mics are gonna pick up, but here we go. You guys hear that noise? That noise is more extreme on 4S. Because what you're hearing is you're hearing the prop creating a lot of drag. So if you want to stop that prop, it takes a second. You see it? And then on 4S, the ESC has a little bit more power to stop the prop. So you'll get a little bit different performance there. Similar on the Turbo Timber Evo, because it has thrust reverse. See it? It's spinning. Whereas on 4S, it's gonna be a little bit more juicy and it's gonna totally stop and lock that prop still. That is a function of the thrust reverse. You hear that weird noise? Mm-hmm. Okay, full landing flaps here. We're gonna see if we can do a touch and go maybe. About 15% throttle there. Whoop, bounce and go. Double bounce and go. Folks, this plane is a really solid plane. I feel like if you're new, it might be consistent with the T28 1.1, but this gets you flaps and LEDs. And I feel like the flaps and LEDs might open up the flying window for some people. And then other people are gonna be like, you know, I want the tricycle landing gear for a beginner plane. And that's a preference issue. And I can tell you this, the T28 flies really nice, slow, and it doesn't have flaps. So if you're wanting a simpler application, you do have a computerized transmitter. Takeoff flaps going in right now because I had to make a sharp turn. Full landing flaps here just to show you, we'll slow it down a little bit, but you can't slow down too much with the wind or you're gonna lose your plane. There's our timer. Also, I want to respect my timer on a 3S because you don't have as much get out of jail free card. So here we go. We don't need to really respect the timer. We just set up audio events, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. Takeoff flaps now because of the wind. Little bit of wiggle just to bleed off speed and then full landing flaps, get into ground effect and then try to put it down nice and gentle. Of course, we're fighting the wind pretty hard today and throttle cuts on. So let's talk about this for a second. Let's go into our ESC. Yeah, 11 volts, but look at that. Probably 35, 40%. And maybe not 40, like 37, 36, something like that. 3.8 volts. Very cool, guys. So next up, we're gonna show the unbox, build, radio setup, and we're gonna walk you through how to turn on the reverse thrust. You'll note that I didn't use reverse thrust on my landings today. Now that's partly because of the wind, especially on this plane because the wheels are so close to the CG that it does like to nose over if you're not careful. Not with reverse thrust, but just with the wind because we got like a shear that's going across here. And so as we land, it likes to really fight me. So I hope you guys can appreciate that and you won't handicap me too much because of it. But Here's the thing. This plane is beautiful. It fits in cars easily. It's easy to energize, meaning the batteries are cheaper because they're smaller. You don't have to use the smart packs, but I highly recommend them. They've just been working really good for us. I know that there's people that have really lots of brand loyalty to a battery that you've had good luck with. I don't blame you. I'm the same way. I love the way that these batteries have worked out for us. And so we use the heck out of them. That being said, I can't even hardly think of anything wrong with this plane. It's just so good. That being said, I think that for some of you, this is going to be the problem you have with this plane, is that it flies so good that it's not going to be challenging enough. That's it. I mean, that's really the problem. Now, I've had other planes that are like this before, and they fly so good that you shelve it and you move on to the next one. So I would recommend getting it and then flying it once and then shelving it for the next one, because we'll be bringing more to you soon. But I'm serious, that I can see that being a problem for some of you, because the thing is so rock solid. It's definitely an everyday flyer. It's definitely one that you can throw on the back seat, car, truck, doesn't matter. It'll fit easily. It goes together in probably, I would say, like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how fast you do it. The radio setup will probably take you longer if you do it the way we do it. But I can blast out a radio setup in like probably 10 minutes if I'm off camera, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the binding procedure and then the reverse ESC might take half as long as the regular programming. So it's just really not a hard thing to set up. And once you get it in the air, you're going to fall in love with it because it just flies super good. The only thing it's missing is retracts, except it doesn't need retracts because it's a fixed gear plane. So really, it just doesn't really do anything wrong. It's like, you know, you guys come to Brian Phillips RC because we try to give you the full truth. And we kind of almost like go overboard trying to say that, because I feel like sometimes we get questioned, like if we're bringing this genuine review to you, but this plane is just awesome. There's like nothing to pick on. Oh, the prop clearance. The prop clearance is not very much. Well, it's a small plane. So what are you going to do? I mean, this thing is so small that we have it sitting on our counter right now, because when we have new planes that we're reviewing, we may have to fly for 3 or 4 days because the weather's crap. And we've had really good weather all summer, and then we had like just a couple of spells with rain, very few, and then we've had a couple of spells of wind, and it's been windy for like about a week and a half. So we're transitioning into fall. We're going to get more of that. But anyway, they're sitting on our counter waiting for like that calm day. We still haven't got a totally calm day, but I have this thing parked underneath the Cessna 150T, which is huge, of course. And this thing sits underneath it like a little baby. And it is awesome. I love that you can nest these two planes together and they just happen to come out together. Love the plane, flies very good, fantastic graphics, fantastic paint job, fantastic build. I didn't even have to squish the foam sticking the, you know, like the horizontal stabs in. The wings slid in, no problem. You know, there was one problem.
What?
Our aileron servo was unplugged.
Oh,
yeah, see, Horizon, shame on you. So anyway, so if you get your aileron cord unplugged, just to, you know, plug it in. That took us 10 seconds.
All the screws worked.
All the screws worked. Yeah, we didn't even have any problems at all. So it was like, what the heck? But no, this plane is awesome. We've had really good luck with Horizon planes in general. Most of the time they're great. Very unusual to have a bad experience on a Horizon plane because they just vet this stuff really well. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't ever have problems, guys, like the aileron plug unplugged. That stuff does happen. If you get a plane and you're not sure what's going on, watch our video. It might help you figure out, like our Unbox build and radio setup, it might help you figure out what's going on. Also, the tech support is available. They'll help you out if you don't put it in the comment section below and we get to you first. But then also, if you do have a problem, this is one of the reasons why we love working with these guys so much, is that they really go way overboard trying to make things right when you do have a problem. And all you have to do is look through the comments and all of our videos. Occasionally you'll see somebody that's got a gripe and I'll be like, talk to Horizon. Then they'll come back like a week later and they'll say, yeah, they sent me a new one, or they did this or they did that. And they always make it right. That's part of the reason why we were customers first before we worked with these guys, you know, and they've just been great to work with. they're also huge. So that helps too, because they have a lot of the new innovation and they bring it to the market in such a price point that most people are willing to pay for it. And so that attenuates, you know, this whole thing. If we don't have people getting into the hobby, if we don't have people, you know, coming in, if all we have is attrition from, you know, basically people dying off that are into this hobby, then it's eventually going to die. So do your part, get people into it. It's super fun. It's one of the most immersive radio controlled experiences that you can have, but it's also hard to start because it's the easiest time in history to start, by the way, but it's still hard to learn to fly. So if you can get people that you think might be interested into watching our videos, or just get them flying. I don't care if they watch my videos, have them watch my videos after they get started, that's fine. But we're here to help you go from 0 to flying. And then if you're just getting back into the hobby and you're like, Brian, what do you mean when you say bind? What do you mean when you say ESC? You know, like I've been flying on nitro or gas or diesel or whatever the heck it is. I don't know, whatever you guys used back in the day. Or I did control line. I don't know what any of this stuff you're talking about. We go into more detail on this channel than the other guys. And that's not to take anything away from them. They've done their own thing in their own right. But what we do here is we try to bring you a more technical approach so that you know what's going on and why it's going on. Not just what happened, but why it happened. We try to analyze stuff in such a way that you can learn from it. And we're not going to get so techno mumbo jumbo in every video, but on the new buildings, on the simpler builds, the beginner builds, we'll go into more detail. On the more complex builds, we'll go into detail on stuff that we think will make sense on those more complex details. But we always do try to answer comments too. So if you have a question in the meantime, just ask it in the comments below. We try our very best to keep up on them. It's taken us about a week on some of these to get back to people. But when we're really caught up, I mean, sometimes it's the same day or within an hour or something like that. That happens once in a while. That being said, love the plane. Horizon, good job on the RV-7 by Vans. That is a branded plane, so it looks right because it is all branded. It's not like they did a Boeing, you know, where they add an extra Y in there like the Chinese companies love to do. No, they actually pay branding rights to make that plane. So that's very cool, and Horizon, keep that up. By the way, get yourself a Boeing if you're listening to your audience. We want one. But that being said, no, actually a Boeing, sorry. There you go. We love this plane, very good, powerful, simple to use, flies great. AS3X and safe are rock solid. Reverse thrust is exactly what we've come to expect now that you've been starting to encourage us to use it. The safe, we have battery voltages, we have there's literally nothing on this plane that I can complain about. It's perfect. So keep up the good work, guys. If you want to buy one for your very own, you can help support our channel by following the link in the video description below. Costs you not a penny more. You get all your credit for whatever programs you're part of, and we get a small commission from these guys. You don't pay us a penny, they pay us a penny, which is nice. So that being said, that's how we support our channel financially, and we hope that you will buy from the links below if you've gotten anything out of this video. And if not, give us a like, please. It does help. And then also we have Patreon and we have PayPal if you don't like monthly giving. Those are all available in the video description below. And if, let's say you hate this plane, which I don't understand how you could because it is awesome. Let's say you do anyway. Let's say, hey, I want an F-15, or I want you know, an F-16, or I want an F-18, or I want an F-16, or I want an F-14, or whatever it is. We will have links below. If they're good, they're in the list. If they're not good, or I haven't reviewed them yet, they're not on the list. But just go into our channel, click on my little face. It looks like an icon. It's got my face with like headphones on, like I'm in an airplane, because I was when we took that picture. Then you can go to the search and you can search. We literally have thousands of videos. So some of them are 5 hours long. Yes, I understand. You would have to serve a 6 or 7 month sentence and you're still going to have more to watch. But still, if we have you and you're that captive of an audience, then please watch every video all the way through. But if you're a normal person that has other things to do in your life, just make sure that your boss gets into the videos with you so you don't get fired. Anyway, all right, stay tuned. We have much more to come. We're going to unbox, build, and radio set up this thing next. Thanks for watching. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We've got the Vans RV-7 1.1 meter with beautiful LEDs and flaps. You would think that I added them, but I didn't. This comes stock. Love it. And by the way, this plane comes equipped with the Avian ESC, which you know what that means. Forward thrust, reverse thrust. So cool. All right, that was about 10% throttle, by the way. And we have some wind today to be dealing with. But this plane is so sweet, we cannot resist. And look at the rain in the background. This could be a little bit of a hairball. Takeoff flaps deployed. Look at that red light. Oh, yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I meant safe. That was dumb. Oh, that thing is a firecracker.
Wow.
Holy crappers. Sweet.
I did not expect
That thing is on rails. Look how sweet it is. Okay, here we go. Full landing flaps. Let's see it slow down. 15% throttle. And then into the power. Oh, yes! Folks, it's not calm at all. Let's do some bull flying in the crazy weather. That is crazy. I'm like at 10% throttle, 20% throttle doing these maneuvers, guys. That's 8%, 10%, 15, 20. Here's 30% throttle, no flaps. Takeoff flaps coming in just to be on the safe side. Not one click of trim, by the way. 2200 4S. Goodness gracious, look at that beautiful.
clouds.
Man, we have some sweet clouds tonight. I don't want to see how like insane it's going to be to land. Full landing flaps. Boy, this thing is fast.
Yeah, it is.
Holy crappers.
Was that full landing flaps?
That was full landing flaps. Okay, so I'm going to just be over here. That is sweet. Okay, here we go. Takeoff flaps this time only. A little bit of throttle just to keep the tractoring prop. Going to the lowest point there. Full landing flaps there. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That was sweet. I'll take it for the first landing. All right, I do not want to get grass all over this thing, but I should go pick it up. I don't want to get grass all over it. It's too beautiful. All right, guys, so that's a true maiden flight so far. We're 2 minutes and 14 away from our 5 timer. Okay, we're just gonna show you the STOL takeoff. We got full landing flaps deployed. That is insane. Guys, look at that thing. I love the lighting. It's so good. 50% throttle, there's 100% throttle. Good thing we have the world's best camera crew here. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, about 50% throttle. We're just riding the wind here. It's a little bit insane right now. Reverse thrust there. Okay, so thoughts. 1, the plane does just fine in bad weather. 2, it's a little bit crazy. I don't think it's gonna show very good on camera. This thing has full telemetry. Look at this. Everything, guys. You got it all. Yes, there is safe. Yes, there is reverse thrust. You have to set it up. Not a big deal. I'm super happy with this plane. So we're gonna pause and do an in closing here. Okay, so that's our true maiden. Insanely good. Really, really love the performance. It is high performance, make no mistake. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the Pitts 850 millimeter because it's that intense. It has so much power, like you don't even know what to do with it. You can do lots more than I did for sure. The flaps are effective. I feel like it could use more barn door flap, to be honest. I'd like to induce more drag. They're only set to 45% on the down sweep. Could be something to do with the mechanism on the servos. Not sure about that though. In terms of assembly, probably the easiest build we've had in months.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like probably 10 minutes total, and that's for us.
This video like might only be a couple hours long.
Really? So very, very, very happy with this plane. It hits all the check boxes that I wanted from a plane of this echelon. It is extremely sturdy. It is very beautiful. It has lots of scale details. It's got thrust reverse. It's got telemetry. It's got pack telemetry. These are all the things. LEDs, forward facing white, rear facing. You know, honestly, if I have a red, a green, and a white on the tail, I'm satisfied. I'm very satisfied. And not only that, but they're bright. They're not just like crappy, you know, like, hey, it's like a Christmas light. You can't see from 10 feet away, but you know, it's still light. No, these things are bright. They're very good. Also, the livery is beautiful. Very well done on the decals. I mean, this thing is gorgeous. Obviously, the weather's not cooperative right now for a really good Maiden. We're gonna get another Maiden, but just look how much the trees are blowing. And honestly, I felt like that was very manageable. I wouldn't say it was easy in that weather, but I felt like the landings were okay. I think at dead calm, this thing is gonna be a literal showstopper. Also, we're flying it with 2200 4S, Gen 2, 30C. No reason that that would not be okay with a Gen 1. And in terms of issues with the plane, our aileron cable was unplugged. No big deal, took us like 5 seconds to figure it out, plugged it in. Other than that, absolutely gorgeous. And by the way, Horizon, if you're gonna make mistakes, do that one more often because that was super easy to fix. Unlike other weird issues that we've had in the past, this is awesome, guys. Very good job, Horizon. Love the plane, love the canopy. It looks like real glass. Of course, it's plastic, but just look at how beautiful that is. The pilot is well done. The instrument cluster is well done. There's really just like nothing to say that's bad about this plane. And believe me, if I had something bad to say, I would say it. So I'm just gonna say it like this. The only thing I can say about this plane that may not be great is just the sheer power is so insane that it's gonna make you think you can fly anything. So for good or bad, right? So with safe, it's just a little bit too windy. I don't wanna risk doing a safe landing, but I bet it's gonna be good in calm for a beginner. Only because power saves lives in planes. Some people are opposite of that. They think you need a weak plane with low throws. I am the opposite. I wanna be able to over control the thing, and I'm gonna use the aids that are built into the controllers, like Expo, rates, things like this. But I wanna be able to make that thing go on its head. You know, I wanna be able to shoot it to the moon, you know? I feel like the old style of training was weak plane, simple controls, 3-channel. I just don't think that's the way people learn anymore. They're used to simulators. Simulators where you pull back, it goes up. You push down, it pushes, you know, it just does what you say. That's the way this thing flies. Now, if you're not into that, then you're not into that. But I would say this thing is almost basically a 3D plane. It's powerful enough. I want to fly it on 3S now because I feel like 4 is too much. So that being said, we will absolutely have more footage for you on this. If you're excited for this thing like we are, very exciting. It's a very good plane. I love it when we do reviews for companies that make stuff that's good and worthy of our excitement. Because we review a lot of stuff, guys. And sometimes we review stuff that's like, it's okay, take it or leave it. This is a great plane. Very good. It reminds me of the way I felt about the T-28, but the T-28 had fixed gear and no flaps.
And no LEDs.
And no LEDs, right? I can't remember now. Now I didn't think about it. But anyway, yeah, the 1.1 meter, which by the way, Horizon, if you're listening, put some flaps and LEDs and retracts on that thing, and we're gonna love it even more. 1.2 meter, maybe, that'd be awesome. We love the 1.2 meter. It was one of my favorites and still probably one of my favorites to this day. Very, very well done. AS3X works flawlessly. I don't even have one click of trim, guys. Look, not even one. There's no trim at all. And we're flying in a Hurricane for all intents and purposes. And what is with our windsock, John?
I don't know, John.
What kind of defective windsock did you send us?
Because
No.
you can hear it on the mic, 'cause it is not calm.
Yeah.
I'm sure people
Actually,
sorry.
John sent us another one. I just haven't put it up because I want to use this one up. I'm such a cheapskate. But anyway, guys, if you like this thing, if you're even remotely interested, order it. Order it now. All these planes. Don't tell me that it's back ordered and then you hate me because it's back ordered. Believe me, if it was up to me, there would never be a back order in the history of time. But if you want this plane and it's back ordered, order it. If you pre-order, you're much higher likelihood of getting these planes early. So yes, I know that it's painful to see how awesome it is and how I have it and you don't yet. But please guys, I'm serious, I'm begging you, if you want this plane, just order it. because with the way things are going in the world, you never know if somebody's gonna park the cruise ship sideways in the channel, or in the canal, or if the container's gonna fall off the side of the ship, or whatever stupid thing comes up, or a hurricane or Sharknado, whatever it is, Corona 3, Corona 4, whatever it is, I don't know. All I know is if you want this thing, check the link, get it ordered today, get it coming. You won't regret it. This thing is awesome. That being said, there's more footage. Stay tuned right now. We've got the unbox build and radio setup. If you don't know how to do the radio setup for the thrust reverse, we go over all that stuff. Very easy setup, very easy to get safe select assigned, and we go through all of it. Exhaustive build. Stay tuned. If you haven't already seen the Calm flight, it probably preceded this. And so just slather this excitement on that flight too, and you'll get a real idea of what we think of this plane. Come back for more, guys. Thanks for watching. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. What do we have here? What is this thing?
A box?
It is a box. Is it an e-bike?
Kind of a long.
Is it a tractor? Toilet plunger.
I'm gonna start.
Oh boy, look at this thing. It's like we knew it was coming. It's the Vans RV-7 1.1 meter. It's actually a little bit bigger than 1.1 meters. So skill level 2, bind and fly, smart technology. I don't know what all that means because I'm not 100% sure yet. We're gonna find out right now. I'm a sucker for general aviation planes. This thing is 1,100 millimeters. It is 900 millimeters long. Looks like it's blue and white LEDs. Ooh, forward-facing white LEDs, nice. 3-bladed prop, that should help with ground clearance. We've got some pants we can hopefully not have any issues with. And then what's that red? Oh, it's a fuel tank, cool. So it says smart, it's got smart technology. So I don't know if that means it's got airwear on it, or if it means it's got a smart ESC, avian ESC, oh yeah, baby. So you know what that means, camera crew.
Thrust reverse.
Yes, thrust in one direction, and then when you're done, you can thrust in the other direction. All right, we're gonna slide this thing out of the box, unbox it, and then we're gonna set it up. I don't know if it's gonna have a lot of build. We're gonna have to attach some wings for sure, looks like. Okay, Horizon packaging, looks really good. Unfolded manual. Somebody's listening, i.e. this was probably packed before I ever made my first complaint. RV-7, beautiful packaging, by the way. I love the way it looks. They always throw like an upside down plane in there, but I'm gonna put it right side up because I like it that way better. All right, let's cut this thing free and see what we've got. This actually has been released, well, announced a while ago, because of some agreements I think they had with the Vans, because this is a licensed product. Beautiful prop, 11.6, love the dipped tip.
Oh, yeah.
That was like a good dipped tip. And we've got the bag of goodies here. Looks like a nut and bolt sack in there, so it's good. And I'll start cutting things free. I love this gray color. That's pretty, really nice finish. Perfect match on the covers for where the wires go. Really like that.
Do I like the blue? Is like a.
It's like darker blue.
Smoky. I like it.
I do too. I think it's sweet looking. I know a lot of guys complain about blue because of the sky being blue, but this is not a sky blue plane. No. So I'm actually liking that. Okay, we got a carbon fiber wing joiner, very thick. Oh my goodness, that one's strong. That's for the tail, I'm assuming. Boy, there's a lot of dihedral in this wing. Didn't expect that. Wow, that looks really nice. Oh yeah, baby. Oh, look at that. Look at the rivets. That is so cool.
Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can get them in the light.
Feel them.
Yeah, I know. It looks
that is
super
so cool. We're not used to having that type of detail. And there's nothing else here. It's just totally, what does that say? I can't read it. Open, 21 US gallons, so cool. And then of course the quick release. No work involved on that. That's awesome. Where's the landing gear on this? Oh, they're in front of it. Oh, wow. That's a strange place for landing gear. It's way up on the front.
I like the white on top, gray on the bottom.
I do too.
Easy to
High
tell.
contrast.
Yep.
Look how short the plane is. This is the plane.
Wow.
Oh, it's well, because we don't have to hook the wings together.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to put the wings together, half and half. Ooh, the pilot is super detailed. Awesome. Whoops. Well, I don't think we have to worry about the tail dragger on this one. Looks super solid and robust. Oh yeah, buddy. That pilot has a super, oh boy, what's he got? He's got his stick in his hands. Look at that beautiful instrument cluster. Man, look how gorgeous this canopy is. That is awesome. And it's strong. Look, it's strong. You can like hold the plane by it. Now it's still gonna give a little bit.
Yeah.
I've noticed that when you get these big domed canopies like this, and that pilot is like the perfect size, because you see how his arm goes over where the second person would have their arm? That's exactly the way it is in a real plane, because you're like, hold on, we can't sit together, but I'm like, like hugging my camera crew. And that's the only way you can sit in these planes, because they are, if you're my size, you're like squishing your legs back so you don't touch the rudder pedals. And you've got the seat all the way back in the luggage compartment. That is a beautiful finish.
I really like the look of it.
Wow.
That's cool.
I'm liking it. These decals wrap all the way around over those control areas. I like that. Nice scale looking wheel, actually. Oh, there's a tail light.
Cool.
Hope it's white.
Cool.
It's probably a strobe. Man, that looks so clean. Really. Okay, Spectrum BL Outrunner motor. It's a 3536 850 kV. This thing feels like it comes off. I don't want to break it off though. And then look, we've got all these panel lines and details. Very cool. Very, very cool. Underneath, obviously, we got brass nutzers to receive. Both the landing gears got exhaust ports, big actual vents. That's good. Like to see that. Love the way this wraps. It's a separate decal, and this is, the whole thing is this wide. That is so cool. But then it kind of undermined the dimpling effect from the rivets.
Matte decals that we've been seeing.
Yeah, they're really nice. Okay, they're gonna be hard to emulate when you screw them up though.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that is a beautiful inside. Smart ESC, oh yeah. And we have the Air 631, which is great. So I'm assuming that we should have some good telemetry information. This is a 631 with an Avian ESC, ES3X only. I always love it when they give us these little plugs, because we totally don't need them and they can take them off and use them for other projects. Now, why is there, I'm trying to figure out what the heck these things are. That's weird. There's like an extra plug in here. What is that for? Aileron? Oh, it's because we have to plug in the, what? No, we don't. Why is that there? That's very weird. Aileron, throttle, it's all tied up. Then there's this. What is that from the ESC? I'm sort of afraid to separate it all because they've done a pretty good job of cable management already. Let's just leave it for now. We'll see what it is. They did include some Velcro. I'll be immediately removing that. We can keep that for another project. Do you know?
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I know, because got so much time to do the other
that
projects.
talk we had earlier.
Yeah.
What are those?
Spinner.
Oh.
Look at this.
Nice.
It's matte. Yes. That is a super good match, and it's matte. We almost never see matte finish on the spinners.
Nice.
They're almost always shiny. That is so cool. Very happy with that. And then I bet it's gonna fit super toy, like a Toyga. Look at this. No texture on the back. It's fine. Let's see how this fits.
That's gonna look really cool.
Oh yeah, look how clean that is. That is nice. So hopefully we won't need a spare prop, because that's gonna only be the only prop you're ever gonna use. There is stuff in here still, by the way. The tail is in this little cavity here. So you gotta look, oh yes. Ooh man, they're really protecting these things with the decals. Look at that. Oh, carbon fiber all the way down this deep. Guys, oh, look at that. You see that? I just did that. Don't do that yourself. That's super strong. You see that, guys? You can't see very good because it goes to here.
Yeah.
But it looks like the
We
way
can see the shadow. We can see the shadow.
they glued it in. That's nice. Very sturdy, very robust, very happy with that. Ooh, look, reinforcement. Awesome. The pinch hinge, that's a little bit strange. They would go through all that trouble for the strength and then do a pinch hinge. I'm trying to see if there's a reinforcement in there, and I honestly can't tell. Looks like there might be something. It's kind of hard to tell though. Oh, it's the decal I was seeing. Nope, it's just a straight up pinch hinge. That is surprising.
Not very big.
No, it's not a big control surface.
Yeah.
Plus it's interlinked here, so you've got a lot of strength. I mean, you'd have to rip a long ways. Yeah, I don't know. They might have put some adhesive in there. I'm not sure. Okay, moving along, we got the landing gear. You see where they sit?
Oh.
Beautiful. I love it. This is super nice. We're not used to this. This is like model quality. My goodness. This is like...
It's really pretty.
Everything is screwed together and serviceable. Look how nice that is. It's a matte plastic.
Yeah.
We're just not used to seeing details like this. That's so amazing. I mean, I feel like I'm unboxing a helicopter or something here because that's the sort of detail you get in a helicopter nowadays, which in and of itself is amazing. Okay, let's flip this over. Yep, there's nothing else there. So we're gonna take a quick second. We'll get things packed up and then we'll come right back with the assembly and radio setup. All right, so the RV-7 is gonna be a fairly easy install. As you can see, this is all the parts, including a plane stand and a couple of screwdrivers that we got from our own supplies. Thank you, Tom, for getting us those screwdrivers. This slides in here, very simple. There's a recess that slides back through, and then it lines up perfectly. Very, very simple. The Phillips screws are black. They're black anodized. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this screw in first, just because on the other side, you've got the linkage and controls and things like that. Okay, so these are Phillips. And then the rest are gonna be like what, 1.5 millimeter or 2 millimeter?
It was 2.
Okay, so that's there. Okay, and I felt what I thought was protrusion from the screw, but it was actually just a rivet, a detail on there. So very cool. Then the connector or the joiner can be slid through, super easy. Did I speak too soon about how easy it was? Okay, that was pretty easy. And then we're going to the outside hole, but we're gonna wait till we do radio setup to kind of deal with that.
Okay.
Show them how easy this slides in. Look at this. Oh, that is perfect. That is so easy. That has got to be the easiest horizontal stabilizer install we've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had to not crush those. I'm thinking of, like on the top of my head, 10 planes that we've had to squish the foam to get those in. Amazing. Guys, these things are getting so much better. Every time that we do a plane, I feel like there is a huge improvement in some aspect. Okay. All right, so that's done. So now that is not hooked up, and we will need to get that settled before we fly.
Right.
So camera crew is going to keep me accountable for that.
Okay.
Let's flip this up. Beautiful look. Oh yeah, looks really good. Okay, so we're going to the nose this time.
You want to put the prop on or gear?
Tom also sent us this thing, the plane stand. Thank you, Tom. Which one does it call for first?
Gear next, but
Well,
you just flipped it over. So
Yeah, whatever. Let's just do this.
okay.
Okay, so the prop, we've got the plate that goes on first. Then that's there. Then this. Okay. Then we have this thing. This is going to be a really good fit, I think. Look at that. It's going to go into that little retention area. That is so cool. Okay, then we can hold on the prop and kind of try to tighten that. Sometimes it's challenging because there's not really a good way to hold that motor. So sometimes if you're struggling to hold the motor, you may have to reach in here and do something like that. Fortunately, we haven't run into that too frequently because usually once you get a good enough bite here, you can hold and torque it down. But you see it wants to spin the motor inside. So sometimes you got to get a finger or a tool in there to actually brace the motor. And then once you bite, yep, now it's holding. Oh yeah. Don't cut your finger doing that. See? Pressure. So be a little bit careful about that. I feel like that's good. I don't think we need to do any more, but oh yeah, that's on there good. Then the spinner, the beautiful spinner. Then one of these screws.
One of the short screws.
There's 4 long and 5 short. And they're all the same.
Yep.
Look at this. It fits. Oh yeah, perfect. Very good fit. Horizon, thank you for good hardware on this model. Okay, so that's absolutely gorgeous. I always love it when I can feel the magnets.
You know that thing I just said about if the sun comes out?
Yeah. So, let's flip this thing over. And we'll just do the, are we supposed to do the wing first or the gear first?
Gear.
Really?
So gear.
Really? You sure about that? I accidentally installed the wing, hon. Because the gear are going on top of it.
Okay, fine.
But seriously, like that was how hard it was. I'm telling you guys, these things are getting so much better.
It's amazing.
I mean, this is 10 times easier than the last plane we built from Horizon. And there it is. Awesome plane, by the way. Just the bolts did not make for an easy assembly. Even though there's only like 7 of them. Well, maybe a little bit more.
4 of them that were a problem.
This is so easy. And 1.1 meter is an awesome size class. We don't see a ton in the 1.1 meter size. We see a lot more 1.2s and 1.3s than we do 1.1s in my experience. There was a time right before I got into the hobby where there was a lot of 1.1 meters. Like there was a P-51 and some of the Warbirds that were being released in that size class.
Oh, really?
Yep, and to be honest, it would have been a good time.
Yeah.
It would have been a good time to be in it because I think it's a good size class.
It is.
They usually they didn't fly as good as the 1.2s though. So they're just smaller. You know, smaller planes don't generally fly quite as good as the big planes, but with stabilization anymore, you can make them look like a huge plane, behave like a big plane. Okay, this is gonna be such a short build.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Then the little white covers.
Where are those?
The bigger of the white pieces.
Okay.
And they are marked with an L and an R. Somewhere on the bottom, I think.
This one says L.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, because that would be the plane's
That
left.
is so cool. My goodness gracious.
And then the 4 short screws are left.
Where have you been all my life, assembly?
Kidding. I would build planes like every day if it was this easy.
Wouldn't that be funny if it was a Dynam engineer that quit and went to Horizon and was like, screw you, Dynam. I shouldn't say that in early releases. That would be hilarious. It's like my trophy build. This is so easy
nice.
and so beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the way the ribs for strength are here. I think those are gonna get dirty if you do this in grass, though. That's gonna catch tons of grass.
But it's plastic, so you can,
you can
wipe it off pretty easy.
Well, you could take the whole thing off and 2
Yeah.
bolts and wash it in the sink.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan of wheel pants because they get bound up, but look how clean and tight and everything. Even with the wheel all the way over, we're clear. I don't know. I'm just super impressed with the way this thing has gone together. I hope it flies half as good as it looks because if it flies bad, it's gonna be the biggest letdown. Can you imagine? Okay, so we have some antenna. We have a bind plug.
You have steps.
Steps. Yep, so the steps go like here.
Yeah.
Right? I don't even know if we need the plane stand anymore, do we?
I don't know.
Gosh, that is so sweet looking.
Do we
It's
need-
just such an easy little thing to get around.
No.
Look at this. You could totally put that in the passenger seat of your car. You can go through the door with it on your belly and it can just like ride with you. And then you can just like grab the steering wheel and drive and get to the shifter or the 3 on the...
Drive and hold your plane. Put it in the passenger seat.
Put my dog in my lap. Have the dog stick out the, window. Why can't I put my plane in my
We
lap?
should take our cats in the car. See how it goes.
That would be dangerous. Okay, so how does this work?
So we might, can I look at the
It
diagram?
looks like there's kind of like a faux step and then like an actual
Hold on,
step.
'cause
So it's a
there's-
choice, right?
Select either the steps or plugs.
Okay. So I was correct.
Yep.
Show the people.
Okay.
This is what it comes with. Like I said, model quality. That is so stinking cool.
You're gonna put the steps on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, steps are sweet.
Yeah.
See? There you go.
Cool.
Now that is gonna get in the way for some people. So you may end up using the plugs, but look how sweet that is, guys.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, where were you when I was learning to fly RV-7? They suggest CA, and as per typical, because I'm just that type of person, we're gonna use China glue. China. Just regular contact adhesive, nothing special. We're just gonna put a little blurb of it there. I know glue. And we're just gonna do a little glue here. Glue. Okay?
I'm not sure that was a little glue.
Was it too much?
It's okay. I'm just worried it's gonna all like.
Splooge out everywhere.
Yeah.
I have a Q-tip, so hopefully that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna take the Q-tip and spread this. Now, CA would be fine, guys. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with medium CA, but I do kind of prefer China glue because I like contact adhesive. And I found that it's much easier to take these out because I can use Kicker to release this glue. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's spread around. Now, we're gonna lay that down and let it work. I say cook, usually. We're gonna let it cook. And I just mean chemically react with the air. And that will make it so that that glue gets really tacked up and super sticky. Super sticky, dude. Just like that. Oh, dang it. And then this side, we'll just stick it right in the hole and just get that sticky stuff all over in there, and then we'll hit the edges. Ah, I touched my flap with the sticky stuff.
Oh no.
So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let these steps sit for just a minute or two. And yes, if you use China glue, make sure you date it so you know, so you have a record of when you open it because this stuff dries out. And we're gonna give that a minute or two to cook, like I said. And while we're doing that, waiting for that, we can look inside here. So the next step beyond that is gonna be basically binding procedure. And also what, I think we could get the transmitter ready, right?
How long are we letting this stuff cook?
Well, if you let it cook for like a minute, then it will just stick and you'll never have to think about it again. And if you don't let it cook for long enough, then you'll stick it and it'll fall out in like 5 minutes. So if you just give it a minute or two. So we're gonna use the NX8 on this one. Shoot, I forgot to start batteries. What type of battery does this call for?
2200 for us.
2200 4S. Okay, let's do 2200 4S Gen 2 pack. Let's stick it in the charger and just show you how amazing these chargers are. This is a Gen 2 S2200. If you guys are gonna use smart packs, you're pretty much stuck getting one of these smart chargers unless you're super, super, super smart and you realize that they balance themselves. But I'm not gonna go any further because I work with Horizon. We'll stick that in, watch this, guys. Initiating smart charge. And do you think there's even a chance of a snowball in hell that we're gonna fly this once?
Probably not.
Probably not, okay. All right, continuing onward, por favor. So now that we've let this cook, we're gonna use the first one that we set up real quick. Just got that stuff sticky. Now, obviously on Brian Phillips RC, we always like to show you guys the how and not just the what. We want you to understand why we're doing what we're doing and how you can replicate that in your project. So look at that.
That's super cool.
See how far see if that'll pull out for you. And I'm sticking the other one in too.
Nope. I think it's
Exactamundo. Same thing, just kind of pushing down that flap just a little bit. See, push it in. Look, that one you can get out if you try. But yeah, they're pretty much in there now. They're in there to stay. And you could glue your wing on and it would be fine. I'd be comfortable with that in 10 minutes. That being said, if it's a 200-mile-an-hour plane, probably not. Yes. Probably not 10 minutes. I give that 20. So now that the charge is going, the reason we mentioned that charger is because it's been good We like the 2-channel. We like the fact that it's got the IC3 and the IC5. We have links to smart stuff all the time. This is a single channel, and you'll note that we use this one almost all the time. The S1100 is amazing. The S2100 is amazing. When we updated the firmware, we updated the firmware on all of our chargers, even including these little guys like this, the S120s. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if you guys are tight on budget for charger and you want something, before you buy, let me just grab an adapter real quick. Before you buy the S2100 and the firmware update cable, okay? And these adapters, which are not cheap. Horizon is very proud of them, okay? Unless you're building them yourself, then it's not a big deal. Before you do that, because you're gonna get 2 of these, that gets you up to this size class, right? Do the math. You'll be surprised how quick you catch up to this one. Plus, it's still relatively small. You've got the USB charger here, and then the standard USB firmware update, which is nice. So I'm thinking, you know, dollars to donuts, this one's the better deal right now. Now, that being said, when this came out, awesome. And if you're really still tight on cash and you're only doing the smaller packs like 3 and 4S, and you don't even have an IC5, then no big deal. You know, just go with the 2100 or the 1100. And but I almost think the single channel, I wouldn't do that. Just get the dual channel. If you're spending that kind of money on a charger, get the dual channel.
Yeah.
I had single channels and I would parallel charge everything back in the day.
And I remember when you first started thinking, like, when are you ever going to have a plane that flies on 6S?
Yep.
Like, when are you ever going to need that big of a battery?
But there's a lot more 6S planes nowadays. Wow, my thing fell off.
Oh,
That's so
shoot.
weird. Okay, so without further ado, we've got everything glued together. So we're ready to receive the battery. We can grab one that's sort of spent and we can use it for setup. This thing does outright call for a 4S 2200. It doesn't call for a range. It doesn't say 3 or 4S. It just says 4S.
Yep.
So for that reason, we're not going to try it on 3S. I'm sure it would probably fly on 3S. I think Horizon has just probably realized, hey, people are going to fly them on 4S. We might as well just call it what it is.
Yeah.
It does say on here, doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
3
it does.
and 4S compatible. It's a 45 amp ESC. So you should be totally good with whatever. So for now, I think we'll go ahead and pause and come back with radio setup. All right, so we're gonna do the radio setup on the RV-7, and we're using the NX8 for this. We've been super happy with the NX8. We haven't run into any new glitches or anything, and we're on to like model 50 something. So speaking of, we're gonna click and scroll down, go into the function list, scroll down to system setup, and disconnect RF by acknowledging. Then we can go down to model select, and as per usual, we're gonna go to add new model and click. We're gonna select acro, and then the camera crew can show you guys from here on out. And we're gonna create.
Good.
Okay, it's thinking anyway. Okay, so then we can, that's where the model type is if you wanna change that from what the default is. Then model name, so it's 55 models. Okay, so this says acro, but we can change it to RV-7, so we'll click, scroll to R, and then so on and so forth. We're using a legacy keyboard. If you have a different keyboard, you can switch it back to this if you like it better. All right, so we have RV-7, 1.1 meter. We usually show the size, helps a lot. Okay, aircraft type, this is where you set up the wing. And if you look on this page 4 of the manual, if you're doing plug and fly, by the way, it's on page, the information is over here on page 3, okay? But we're doing the bind and fly, so it shows you the computerized transmitter setup. Of course, you're gonna be using a computerized transmitter on something like this. If you're planning on trying to use like a DXS on this, I would not recommend it, but you could technically bind it up with a DXS and use that if you wanted to. But you're gonna have a hard time with compensation on flaps and things like that, so I would not recommend it. Also, if you're up to this skill level of plane and this type of quality of plane, you're probably already into something programmable, so, or computerized. All right, so looking through here, it looks like the NX8 is down in this bottom, which makes sense. So it says go to system setups, we already did it, airplane. Okay, 1 aileron, 1 flap, which I kind of already knew that, but I always like to verify that. Sometimes they do weird stuff on these setups and you won't even know until too late. Then I'm gonna, that's actually pretty dang good.
It is.
It's like almost exactly right. That's weird. It's been the RV-7 all this time.
Didn't know.
And then we'll go back. I don't know if we need to do a flight mode yet, so let's not. Okay, so we've got a timer set here for 5. Let's see what our timer is. We'll do throttle cut and timer. Okay, so it looks like 5 minutes. Okay, we'll get the CG mark after a bit because we want to get the battery in there too. So it looks like we're going to go ahead and do a 1-out timer for 5 minutes. So we can do that right here. Timer. 5 minutes is already set by default. Active for 1 out. That means that when you go over 25% in this case, it's going to start counting down from 5 minutes. Then I have a certain way I like these. I don't want anything at 1 minute. I don't want anything at 20. I want 10 seconds to be a count. Voice. And then I want tone and vibrate for the expiration. And then every minute I want a tone. Okay, and there's other things we can set up too, like flaps, dual rates, and of course throttle cut. I usually do that first. I forgot on this one, I don't know why. Switch H. Okay, click to acknowledge, and then we can see it's working. It's at -100, and they call out on this page, page 4, what they want for a throttle cut. They want the throttle cut set to -130. I don't know why. We're going to set it to -130. This has to do with the way the ESC interacts with the transmitter, and there are times that we need it to be at this position, and then there's times that we need it to not be at this position. So I think in this case, we'll just go ahead and set it to -130, and then we'll hope that that works well and we don't have any issues. All right, so then we'll check it. You can see it's at -130, then it's at 51, and it moves free, and then -130. Okay, so we're good there. Then we'll go to the flap system and we'll set that up. It's inhibited. I like it on switch B, but just be aware, switch B is also tied by default to auxiliary 2, so we'll have to change that potentially later. I don't like it on switch D, but that's where they usually recommend you do it. So you'll see this, it says D here. I do B, B as in boy. Okay, so we've got that active.
Wait, go back to B, because you switched it to switch D when you showed them that.
Oh, whoops. Okay, there we go. And so we'll go to -100 for the flap. With no elevator correction, they show nothing there. Then they show -2, then +2. That's weird. Okay, so this one's 0, and it's going to be -2. And then this one's 45. That's weird.
That's weird.
Okay, 45, and then +2. Okay, very strange. And the time delay they recommend is 2 seconds. Okay. And so basically as we change things, things are going to take about 2 seconds to cycle all the way. That would be if it was -100 to +100. Okay. So it's a little bit shorter than that time sequence because we're only going to +45. So we're good there. And now we can also set up, we can unlatch that. Let's go to system setup real quick. Let's go to model, let's go to aircraft type. Where are we gonna do that? Channel assign. Okay, see how this says B? Why don't we just set that to D? Okay, auxiliary 2 is now gonna reside on D. I don't even know if we're using switch D, so it doesn't matter because I'm gonna use A since we don't have a retracts, which is gear for my safe select when we get to that point, okay? And then I'm gonna assign switch G to do our thrust reverse if it's available. I'm still not 100% sure it's available on this plane, so we'll come back to that later. Okay, so we should be ready to bind. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep the manual opened to the center of gravity page. Keep in mind, this is a 50C pack. It just happens to be not charged, so we're gonna use this for setup. But in terms of weight difference, you suppose we need to wait and use one of the actual 30Cs? I don't think it matters.
I don't think it's gonna be that critical.
Okay, so we're shutting off the transmitter now that we've got that all committed. Transmitter's off. Wait for that orange light to shut off. Oh, we didn't do dual rates in Expo. Let's go ahead and do that.
Oh shoot, sorry.
Sorry, folks.
I thought about that a second ago.
I knew there was one step we were forgetting. Okay, dual rates in Expo. Do they suggest anything? They have a high and low rate of 170. Okay, high is 100 and then low is 70. So sounds like a pretty standard configuration. So we'll go ahead and do that one next. So if you click here, scroll down to D, R, and Expo, click, aileron, click, and I'm gonna set it to switch F. In the 0 position, I'll do 5. In the 1 position, I'll do 10. And then in the 2 position, whoa, that was crazy. Did you see how fast it went?
Yeah.
Never seen it do that before. We'll do 20, and then we'll drop the rates down to like 90. And then we'll scroll over to elevator, and we'll copy that exact same setup. 5. See how it did that? That's weird. 10. And 20, and we'll drop this down to 90. And then rudder, it's the same still. 5% on the 0, 10% on the 1, and then 20% on the 2 with dropping the rates down to 90, okay? So basically, if we start in this range, then we have a preset amount of expo, which softens the sticks in the middle, helps you make it fly a little easier. And if it's too much expo, we can go up and increase the amount of controllability. It will make it more sensitive. And if it's not enough and it's too sensitive, then we can do doubly what we had set and reduce the rates a little bit. So you have a get out of jail free card either direction. Then if you make that change upon landing the first time, hopefully you have a successful landing still, then you'll come into the, whatever your setting was, you'll put it to the middle, then you'll make a double setting and you'll make a half setting. That way you can always have an out, because I find the expo is almost never changed once you kind of learn the way that you fly. But sometimes, like if you're flying with a buddy and you say, hey, try this out, they might want a little bit less or a little bit more. And then it's just quick, Johnny on spot. Also, if you're flying in like heavy wind conditions, you might want a little bit extra, you might want a little bit less depending on how it's windy. So I always like to have that. So that obviously gets us set, so now I can turn this off. There is a bind mode that you can go into, but it only lasts for a few seconds and then it comes right out of it. So we always shut off the transmitter. We try to show it on camera and we get burned almost every time lately, it seems like. So let's go ahead and bind. There is a nice canopy release, works really nice on this plane. Absolutely no problems there. And I like that you can push it down and have it latch. Some of the planes don't do that as good. They are not all created equal. Mm-hmm. Even the ones from Horizon, some of them are sticky. So, and then sometimes the canopy is a little bit too soft. And so it's really kind of hard to push it down. Like case in point, amazing plane, Cherokee. That's what I was thinking of earlier, I couldn't think of it. Has a really big canopy cockpit area, but it's big enough that when you push on it, it deflects and bumps and squishes. So when you go to grab that, it's really hard to hang on to it. So if you have that problem, or if you have a clasp or a release that's not good, put a little piece of tape here and you can pull that tape and get it out of there. All right, so we're gonna bind this thing. We wanna do it in a safe way so we don't get our hands cut. And so the throttle cut's on, sticks are down. We've got this thing in an area where we can reach it. And we're gonna slide this battery in. All right, so we have the battery in here, and see how my arm is positioned? If you're in any doubt, if you have even the least remote concern that you aren't sure what you're doing, or you think that you might have a problem, leave the prop off at this step. Also, where my arm is, the prop will hopefully not be able to accelerate and cut me, because there's just, like, it would probably just break the plane. It would damage a bunch of stuff. I've never been cut doing this, but I have been cut by UMX planes, screwing around, doing testing and stuff like that. So you just need to be a little bit careful. It's about the time you get super comfortable that you get cut. So without further ado, oh, those lights are awesome. They're super bright. Those lights might be brighter than the Cessna 150. Seriously.
This one's white back.
I love it. Awesome call.
That one is super bright.
Okay, so first things first, I am going to press and hold the bind button, get this on my chest belly area, and then I'm gonna press this button and hold it. Then I'm gonna press this button and hold it. Now I'm gonna let go of the power button. Then I'm gonna let go of the bind switch here. It says binding, and we're not gonna get it. I can already tell. Because it would have bound by now.
Yep.
See?
Well, it hasn't said bind failed yet.
I know, which is very weird. So we're going to see if it gets it. Bind failed, finally. Jeez, that went forever. Okay, so in that case, my recommendation is go ahead and let go of the button. You can click here, scroll down to bind mode, or bind, and then click bind. Binding. I'm farther away now. Bind failed. Okay, so we're going to do it again. Bind. Got it. Only one dance. Okay, I think I know what's going on. We're getting a smart battery alarm. Battery not charged for flying, audible alarm. So we may not be able to bind with this battery. And also, our batteries just got done, like as that was happening. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off our transmitter. We're gonna come over here. Channel 2 is done. Channel 1 is close. Channel 2 is balancing. Okay, so we're done. So we can just unplug this. I want to charge this battery too. Just so you know, that's a 50C pack as opposed to a 30C pack. You see, it's just a little bit longer, a little bit skinnier. So it would have been super similar on CG, but this is the pack I intend to fly with. So now we should be able to get the CG worked out too. So we'll slide this in. We're not going to even adjust any of that stuff. Go ahead and plug it in. Now, since it's not technically bound, I can go ahead and try this again. I'll just turn my body so I can get a little bit further away, pressing and holding, pressing the bind button, now pressing the power button momentarily, letting go of the power button, trying to get it further away. Ah, I got it that time. 2. What I was listening for, and then it goes straight into auto config after the bind's complete. This seems very hectic, and it kind of is because we're trying to film it.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to explain this to you guys because it sounds like I'm just selling something, but I'm really not. When you bind it on your own, it's not near as hard as we show. We're trying to show this, and I'm trying to hold it far enough away and all this stuff. If you're on your own, you just say, hey, come over here, hon, help me with this for a second. And then she'll come over and press and hold the button and you'll be like over here on the other side of the room. It's just, it's a non-issue. Yeah. It's never an issue. Every time we've filmed it in recent history, they must have, with the last firmware update, gotten a little bit more picky about distance and things like this because we used to bind all the time doing that. You're supposed to be 2 meters away. So that's 2 meters, you know. Okay, so that being said, we are bound. Elevator up, down, not hooked up yet. Right, left, aileron roll. Oh, that's weird. Aileron roll left. Nothing. That's weird. Take off flaps, landing flaps. Okay, and then throttle cut is currently on. I'm going to secure the plane and then test. You remember that aileron plug?
Yep, that's what I was just going to say. Okay,
so it's not working right now because my throttle cut's on. That's what we want. Now, because we set this to minus 130, I'm going to hold the plane and secure it. Shut off the throttle cut. Holy crap, that is insane. Okay, so throttle cut is back on and tested. Okay, so you'll want to be a little bit mindful of that. That thing is insanely powerful. Awesome. So my ailerons aren't working.
Right.
So we have to figure out why. First things first, if you have something like this that happens, don't freak out. It's probably easy to fix. I remember looking in here and saying, why is there an aileron cable? Okay, here's an aileron. Oh, I bet you it's right there. See that? Do you see what I'm looking at?
No, hold on.
There's a ground wire that's pulled up out of that connector. That's why I say don't freak out. It's probably something simple.
Oh, the brown one. Yeah, I see it.
Okay, watch this.
Wait, hold on.
Just found one of my little tools. This is just a hex drive. Watch this. We'll see. Nope, still not. Okay. Could be that that's not plugged in. Could be that it is plugged in. I don't know yet. Then we also have this strange aileron plug that's not plugged in. I have to unfortunately cut the zip tie to figure out what's going on. So we're going to do that right now, grabbing some side cutters. And we're going to cut the side cutter. Is that all right for lighting? Okay, just being super careful we don't get through any of the wires. All right. Lights, aileron. It's not plugged in. Well, that'll do it every time you try. And it looks like ailerons are just not plugged in at all. Okay, that's pretty simple. We're gonna plug it in. Brown goes toward my belly. Oh, there you go. There's your problem. There's your problem, guys. Oh, there we go. Okay, so case in point, don't freak out. You have a problem, just fix it. It's not that big a deal. If you need help figuring out a problem, tech support at Horizon Hobby is second to none. I am not tech support for Horizon Hobby, by the way, but I do help a lot of people with the support issues that they run into. And I think it just kind of goes with the territory a little bit when you do these reviews. People assume that, you know, we have some special expertise in these areas, and we do to a degree, but if you need help, you can call tech support and they will help you.
But start with
simple things. Separate the system in half, work your way back until you have the problem.
Don't tear wings off your plane until you make sure you plugged in all your
Yeah,
cables the right direction.
Exactly. Yep, if you plug in a cable backward, it'll do the same exact thing.
Yep.
So anyway, case in point, a little bit disappointing to see that. The funny thing is you could actually fly this plane that way because you have a rudder, you have an elevator, the primary control surfaces were all intact.
And also a good lesson on, that's why you check all your control surfaces. You don't
Always.
just go out and
Always. Yep.
go.
You never assume it's right until you've checked it. How come my elevator doesn't work? Because we don't have it hooked up. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. Why are we not hooked up to the elevator yet?
Because we want to make sure the servo is centered before we hook it up. And
Yep.
we have to be out
and
of
if we're in safe, which we are, because we bound in safe select, which means that we have to get out of safe. Otherwise, the elevator is trying to level the aircraft. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see, but that push rod is moving as I pivot this plane. So let's see if we can do our standard assignment for safe select. We need to have a channel that's assignable right now. So this one, if you go to monitor mode, there it is. See how that's moving? Okay, so sticks down and in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we got it. You guys notice I just counted out loud. I went to 12 before it did it, okay? The instruction manuals clearly state 5 times. 5 times means 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, why don't they just say 12 or something like that? Just do it until you start seeing it move and you'll know it's done. Yep. Okay, so now, which one's safe and which one's not safe? You will know by testing. That's not safe, that's AS3X. And since we've given throttle, things are moving to correct environmental impact, like wind. How do you differentiate between environmental impact and the sticks moving? It knows what sticks are moving and it knows when it's moving without the stick input, okay? So now that we know that we're in AS3X only, let's flip the switch. Now we should be in safe. There's 2 ways to tell if you're in safe. I'll show you the easiest way. That's the most definitive, okay? We're in safe now, and you'll note that that switch is down and away from me. I'd like it to be toward me for safe. So I'm gonna walk back, scroll into system setup, travel, scroll over to reverse, go to gear, click gear, and switch it. Now I'm in AS3X, and that would be safe. So it's as simple as that. You flip the channel control, and then make all your planes the same. Here's the second way to test if you're in safe. If you're in safe, look at the rudder. Now you're not in safe. Now you're in safe. Now you're in AS3X. Now you're in safe. Okay, very simple. Now, if you want, you can also set up an audible response to the switch condition, just like you could if you were setting a flight mode to this switch. Flight modes are more robust because trim is associated to flight mode A, B, C, I think they're numbered 1 through 9 or something like that. So when you have a flight mode, your trim is only for that flight mode. And yeah, which is nice. So that being said, when and if you're concerned, make sure you're in the correct mode and the trims will be stored accordingly. So that's something that people don't know that don't use flight modes. I don't use flight modes much, but we do with the new AR637s and 631s. This has a 631, but it's a bind and fly. I'm thinking more of the plug-in flies. So I have the plane upside down just to verify everything. And now we need to get this elevator set up. So let's go ahead and put it on the plane stand again. The plane stand really does help for this step, largely for filming reasons, but I just want to get it so that we can set up that clevis. Now the instruction manual does tell you where it recommends you set. The elevator is supposed to be in the outside. Show them this picture. That's on the servo, that's on the horn, on the wing. The control horn is on the wing, and it's pretty simple to do this. You're gonna sit here and look at this for a second. You wanna show them what the clevis is? Mm-hmm. Okay. Scooch over here so I can, okay, then we wanna go to this outside hole, but I need to turn that. Well, in order to turn that, I have to brace this somehow. Otherwise, it's gonna spin on the servo on the other end too, potentially. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't have a lot more threads, 6, 7 half turns. That's pretty close to where we need it. Now, how do we know where we need it? You'll get down alongside the plane and you'll say, okay, that's about where we want it right there, because it's level on both sides, okay? Now, don't like sit here and overthink this to death. Because if there's a small deviation from here to here, you may have to resolve it. But that's just not generally gonna happen. Check it, give it a quick once over. Once you get in the air, you got a little bit of trim. You can adjust it some. But like let's just give an example. Let's say you're like this, you're like that, instead of like this. Don't freak out. That's like 2 clicks of trim. It's not a big deal. Now, if you're like this, that's a big deal. Yeah. You will not fly, you'll crash, okay? If you're like this, you'll crash. Get it close, get it as close as you can. Keeping in mind that 1/2 of a turn is gonna bring you either too far or not far enough. And you just kind of have to accept that. Okay, so I'm not gonna click this shut. They are hard to unclick. Okay, look at that. See how close we are? I feel like if we go back 1/2 a turn, let's see how it looks. I feel like we need to go back maybe. See, I'm using 3 fingers. That's bracing that wire. Okay, so let's try this and see how we look. I think it's probably gonna be an overshoot. Oh, that's pretty perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna stick this through. Don't break it off. You gotta get that head pointed through the hole, just like this. You can do it with your finger. Very easy. Then put this little fuel tube over the top. It acts like a little retention, a little retainer for it, and then just move your surface. You can see it's moving very nicely, smooth action. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that we haven't heard a peep from these servos?
No, not a bit.
That plane sings a symphony. It's insane how loud it is. And you can hear it in the air from like 250 feet away.
Hey, where are you gonna mark the CG?
I'm gonna mark the CG probably on the top of the wings.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure. It's a low wing plane. I don't know how it's gonna wanna bounce. We're gonna have to do it upside down, okay? So we're gonna mark the top of the wing, and we're gonna mark it as prescribed in the manual, which is what, 56?
56.
Plus or minus what?
Nothing.
Just 56,
Just
huh?
56.
Okay, so we're gonna use a pair of calipers. Inches. So we're in 56 millimeters. So we'll go to 56. Okay, so here's 56 enough for me. We'll tighten that down, and then that's from the leading edge of the wing. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna say, oh shoot, they're so close on their CG. Come on, man. Okay, so we'll mark that hole. Then we'll bring it out here and we'll mark that hole. And you're probably thinking to yourself, Brian, seriously, you didn't have to make that nasty hole there. I agree, I didn't, but I did. I didn't have to, but I wanted to. You're like, but you make that big ugly mark on there? Yes, I did. Yeah. You know why? Because I want to be able to get to it. I don't want to have to think about it. I just want to know it's there. And it's a lot easier for me to feel it if there's a detent. I used to put tape and then I would put glue. I'd put CA or hot glue and I'd build up a bump. That bump was a really good way of doing it, except that it was just a bunch of extra steps and it just, you know, it didn't really give me that much extra value.
Yep.
So I just, at some point I said, you know what? It's not worth the extra time. It works so good to do that. I can usually feel it and it works just really fancy. So I have no problem doing it that way. That being said, oh man, I want to fly this thing so bad right now.
Calm.
It's probably calm. We'll see. This thing will fly in the wind, obviously. Okay, so I'm lining my middle finger because that happens to be my longest finger. It's not leaning forward, it's not leaning back. It's right in the middle, which is exactly what you want. And you'll note that I haven't even like tried to put this battery in.
It's not even tight.
No, it's not. So I think basically, if you just kind of center it on there, I'm gonna now get this strap set. Is there another strap up there, or is it just the one?
I think there's just the one.
Just the one? Okay. This is the medium grade straps, not anything super fancy. It's actually, they're good, but you can rip them. So if you pull really hard, you can rip them. I've always thought there's gotta be a better way, but at the same time, you know, we get other brands and sometimes their straps are really crappy.
Yeah.
So Horizon's kind of middle of the road on straps and stuff, in my opinion. Okay, so that's not tight enough. It's a little awkward to reach this one. If you fly a plane a lot, it's really nice to not have to deal with straps and stuff. So if you do want to put Velcro on your pack, you still kind of have to have a little bit of retention on the top generally. But I would prefer to not have Velcro. Oh, good, that's screwed in, by the way. That board is screwed in, but I notice it's playing up and down a little bit. Okay, so we have the battery in there. We're gonna, oh, we gotta mark what type of battery. We've been getting in a good habit of marking the battery type, size, and position because it's just so much easier. I'm gonna verify my positioning first. Okay. It does test really nice upside down. Depending on if it's a high wing or a low wing, that's where you're gonna make your decision. Okay, so it feels like it's just a touch on the tail heavy where we have it. So I would say we need to, that tail wheel's super robust.
Yeah.
It doesn't give at all, which is the way I like it. Okay, so I would say that's probably about right. Let's go ahead and mark it. Then there's an arrow, 2200 4S. Okay, and that's the direction the wires go. I just mark approximately where the front of it goes. Some people do not mark their planes for CG, and that's a perfectly acceptable choice, but we tend to fly with a lot of different battery sizes over the time that we have an airplane, so perfect there. I have a sneaky suspicion this plane would probably do good if you put it anywhere on that strap and you'd be fine. So without further ado, guys, this plane looks amazing. You've already seen it fly. We haven't. Very excited for this one. The RV-7 by Vans. Very, very, very cool. Love the steps. That detail is so neat. Oh, did you see it? Love the way this looks. Love the tail light. I've been adding tail lights to planes for years because you know why? When you have 3 points of reference, you can tell where you're going. Also love the way that these lights are set up. You can see the bright front-facing LEDs. You can differentiate between forward and backward. There's never a time where you see the 3 lights that confuse the position. Also, these lights can be seen from the other side some, but they're gonna be way more intense in the correct position. That's what you want, okay? Red is right returning, but remember, we're not like at an aircraft tower or we're not at a control tower, we're actually controlling the plane. So control tower is just gonna need to know what direction they're going. We need to know if they're descending, ascending, all those things. So very exciting. Very, very smooth action. Everything just looks gorgeous. I can't wait to fly this thing. So without further ado, guys, if you haven't already bought one, help support the channel, give us a like. Don't forget to click the bell for notifications if you're already subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please do so. Definitely buy these things if you like them. If you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, look in the video description below. If you buy the planes, you don't pay a penny more, but we get a small commission. You don't pay us anything directly that way, and we still get supported financially on our channel, so we really appreciate you doing that through the companies that we're affiliated with. And that being said, if you don't like doing that, or you're overseas and you say, we really like the content, it keeps us excited about the hobby when we're between steps, or maybe don't have money for a plane right now, and you still want to support us, we have Patreon down below and PayPal. The PayPal is the cheapest way to send us direct payments, but honestly, we think the most equitable way: buy the planes, buy the radios, buy the batteries. If you don't like this plane, buy that plane. If you don't like that plane, buy this plane. We don't care what plane you buy, but we do want to bring you the latest and greatest stuff because we know that's what people are really into these days. And we have so many awesome planes we reviewed. It's hard to keep up with them, to be honest, but look how gorgeous that thing looks. All right, guys, I'm going to fly right now. Don't forget to give us a like. Come back for more. Alarm, we've got more. We forgot thrust reverse. Okay, so thrust reverse is set up through the ESC programming, okay? So you do that through a serial connection through a channel in telemetry, okay? So I'm gonna show you how to do it right now, the exact way. No, you cannot follow the instructions on this screen. How do you get to that screen? You go from your regular screen all the way over to Smart ESC. It won't work because you have to do it within so many seconds of power cycle. So we'll unplug power, plug it back in, and then just wait a few seconds. Throttle cut is on. We're gonna go up elevator and left aileron, okay? Then wait, and it'll give you a second step. Then once that's done, then it'll enter the menu. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what we wanna do is we wanna go to brake type. See how you can go up, it'll move the arrow. Okay, disabled, normal, proportional, reverse, okay? We're gonna go down a bunch of steps. So it's on channel 7. So channel 7 is the channel we want to use. If you want, you can go up to channel 9, you go to channel 8, whatever. So why don't we just set it to channel 7? That's fine with me. And then exit with save and then press over. Then it exits. You'll notice it arms. I'm going to hold this just in case. Okay, so throttle cuts on. I'm going to scroll over to the main menu. I'm going to give it throttle. Nothing happens. I'm going to shut off throttle. Cut. It's obviously working. Throttle cuts back on and tested. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the monitor mode. We're going to look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's auxiliary 2. Remember earlier we re-associated that to switch D. We don't want D to control that, so I'm going to click, scroll down to system setup. We're going to click on system setup. We're going to disconnect RF. Then we're going to go down to channel assign. I'm going to make the assignment instead of D, I'm going to change it to G. Switch G. Okay. Now I'm going to walk back into the regular menu. I'm going to hold the plane. This is where you have to be a little bit careful because you are going to set up thrust reverse. If you've got it sitting on your table, it could roll towards you or away from you, depending on what you do. So thrust reverse should be on or off. It's blowing toward the camera crew. Now it's blowing away from the camera crew. Okay, so that's working, and you'll note the position of the switch. Okay, the position of the switch, that's reverse. That's reverse and that's forward. I don't want it that way. Throttle cuts back on and tested. Now, all I have to do is just go into servo setup, go to travel, and you can reverse it here, or you can go down to digital switch setup. From digital switch setup, you can go to select, go to G, and then you can make your positions. So negative 100 is forward thrust, excuse me. Yep, negative 100 is forward thrust in our case. So I want to make this one negative 100. Excuse me. Okay, so negative 100 is now going to be, oh, not that far. We're just going to go negative 100. Then this one is going to be positive 100. That's the middle one. Oh, shoot, we don't want reverse thrust there. We just want reverse thrust. I guess I could just clear to 0. Then clear. This one's going to be plus 100. You can also hit clear. It goes to the default for that particular menu structure. Remember when we were in the expo, how we scrolled for like 1 second and went, okay, overshot. Okay, so now we test. Back out of the menu, secure the plane, throttle cuts off. Okay, thrust reverse when it's toward us, in the middle, thrust reverse, and then in. Okay, don't like that. Throttle cuts on. We're gonna go back into digital switch setup. We're gonna go to switch G. And I'm gonna make this also plus 100. That way it's basically, or excuse me, minus 100. I want it to be forward, forward, and then reverse.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of go out of your way to get it to thrust reverse. Now, keep in mind, we've done pilot fatigue setup in F-16, okay? That's an EDF. You're not gonna cut your hand off doing that. You could cut your hand up really bad on this. So just be careful. Thrust reverse is not a tool that's perfect for every plane, but of course it's awesome. Okay, so now it's forward, forward, then reverse. Throttle cuts on. Okay, we're ready to test fly. Okay, so everything is ready, guys. If you haven't already bought this, think about following the links in the description. We appreciate you very much. Best audience in YouTube. Stay tuned. So much more.